Hello, I'm Locke Meredith and would like to invite you on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Mona Collins. She's the jury coordinator for the 19th Judicial District Court. Ms. Collins is going to talk to us about the dreaded jury questionnaire you receive, and then at some point, the jury summons. She's going to talk to us about what an important privilege and right it is provided to all of us in the United States and state constitution to be tried by a jury of your peers. She's going to talk to us about the process and the do's and don'ts. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Mona Collins, 19th JDC Jury Coordinator. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where we're going to talk about the law and you and why it should matter to you what a law is. You know, in America, in our cities, in our states, in our federal governments, they all pass thousands, hundreds of thousands of laws, regulations every single year, and they either directly or indirectly affect you. That's why you need to know what a law is. It's an exercise of power over people, places, and things. So join us on the next Legal Lines, where knowledge is power. Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show for the first time Mona Collins. Ms. Collins is the 19th JDC Jury Coordinator. Mona, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming in and doing the show. It's an interesting topic, and I know a lot of people will want to hear about it because it relates to the dreaded jury summons and questionnaire. And so bottom line is you kind of run the office.
Yes.
And you were chosen by the judges of the 19th JDC.
Yes, sir.
That's wonderful. And you've been there for how long now?
18 years.
Fantastic.
Yes.
You know what you're doing. I was telling you, I got called up, I don't know, sometime last year, and when I went through the process, got called to Judge Morvan's court. I watched the whole process and was just fascinated at how organized and well conducted and the whole process seems seamless. And so I just wanted to thank y'all for doing your jobs well.
Thank you for that.
Well, sincerely, I mean it. And so let's go through the process. So explain what happens. They get that dreaded jury questionnaire that nobody wants to get.
Right.
Kind of explain what happens.
Well, we have started a process. Instead of a paper questionnaire, we'll send out a postcard which instructs you to go online to fill out your questionnaire, and it's just basic questions, and make sure there's no changes since the last time you served, or that you're qualified. If you cannot fill it out online, we'll send you a paper questionnaire, and you have 5 working days to fill that out and get it back to us.
And if you don't get it back to you guys within that time frame, what happens?
Well, we give you a second chance, and if you fail to fill out the questionnaire the second time, then a judge may rule you into court to tell them why. They have that option.
They'll show up, say you need to come to the courthouse and talk to the judge.
Right, and explain to the judge why you failed to fill out the questionnaire.
And then the judge can decide whether or not he wants to grant you more time or impose any type of fine or penalty.
It's totally up to the judge, yes.
All right. So let's kind of go through the questions that are on the questionnaire.
Well, you have your basic questions, which is also the qualification questions. Right. Are you a citizen?
So this is what someone has to have in order to be considered for a jury.
Correct.
All right, the qualifications.
Are you a citizen? Have you lived in the parish for at least a year? 18 years or older to serve. If you're a student of any full-time or part-time, you can opt out of service.
Can I have proof of that?
Yes.
Okay.
70 years or older, you can opt out of service, but I've had many 70-plus-year-olds decide to stay with me.
Can the student opt to do it also?
She sure can.
Okay.
She sure can.
So those are two circumstances: student, over 70 over.
Right, 70 or older.
Okay, they can serve if they want to, but they can also say, "Look, I can't do it right now. I don't want to."
We welcome them if they want to stay, but at that age 70 or over, they have earned the right to opt out of service.
Okay.
If you're a felon under indictment, you cannot serve. If you are interdicted, you cannot serve.
Now, what if you've been convicted as a felon? Obviously, the same thing.
Right.
Indicted or
right. If
convicted.
You're a felon or under indictment, yes.
Now, I know in the recent judicial legislation where they were doing reform, they were talking about restoring felons' voting rights. Right. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard about it, but I have not gotten the go-ahead to go ahead and implement that in the office yet. Not, and I have to get the go-ahead from the judges.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the rest of the qualifications.
That's basically it.
Okay.
That's basically it. You have to be a citizen, have to live in the parish for at least a year, and you have to be able to read and write and speak the English language as well.
And the only disqualifications it sounds like primarily if you don't meet those
exactly
required qualifications.
Yes, sir.
And how do you determine if somebody's, if they say, hey, I hadn't been here a year, how do you find out that they actually have been there a
Well,
year?
they have to provide proof that they have lived out of the parish. They have to provide some sort of mailing with a date on it and their old address, to show that they're still getting mail a year, not quite a year outside of the parish.
All right. And the source for the folks who receive that notice questionnaire, what is the source that identifies the folks who are considered?
Well, DMV and voter registration. We get names every 2 years. I update my jury wheel from the DMV records and the voter registration records.
So if you don't have a driver's license or if you're not registered to vote, you're not going to get called?
You're not going to get called.
Okay, and I know that y'all have contemplated how do we involve a larger portion of society. What were the other possible sources you considered but
we
ruled
were
out?
looking at unemployment, but that's confidential. We were looking at the utility bills. But as you know, 5 people could live in a house, and that the utility bills are only in one person's name, so that really was not a viable option. So we're just sticking with DMV and voter registration. And with this new, the judges got a new system in 2011, the jury system, and we have, I would say, like a 90% or 95% return rate. We have a very good return rate.
I was amazed at how many. I figured, maybe half the chairs would be empty. They were pretty much every one of them full. And that's a big old room.
It holds 400 people, and we have standing room only sometimes.
And that was my next question. So what is the typical size of the jury pool?
Well, it just depends on how many judges are in jury weeks and how many civil judges are on my jury board. Each week is different. I always tell the jurors I can't tell you what's going to happen because each week is unique, and each week is unique in my pool. Sometimes I'll have 550 jurors pulled, and we'll get about 400 because if some qualify and don't qualify, and we have like maybe 5 or 10% that come back unable to deliver. So, but we have a pretty good return rate.
And of the ones who actually receive it, 95% answer the questionnaire.
I would say we have a 95% return rate, yes.
Remarkable. Yeah. And so what is the size of the source of the pot, so to speak? How many folks are represented by those folks on the voter registration and DMV license rolls? Do you know? I
don't know a specific number, but I can tell you that it's a random pull. So I can't tell you that we pull so many minorities and so many, I can't tell you that because it's truly a random pull. And people don't believe that because some people will get a jury summons every 2 years. I had a 92-year-old that got one for the first time and he stayed with me. So, I can't tell you that because it is truly a random pull.
Okay. So. Very interesting. All right, so they fill out the questionnaire, you get them in, you figure out how many possible juries you're going to need.
Right.
What's the next process?
Well, for criminal judges, we need at least 48. You can order more. We have some judges that order 60 every time they're on my board for jury weeks, and we have civil judges that need 36, but they can order more. So I have to have at least have that number for them.
Times the number of trials? Is it 36 per trial?
Per trial, or 48 per criminal.
Per criminal. So,
yes.
And what is the typical average amount of trials you're having during the weeks?
Well, I will have 4 to 5 criminal judges on my board, and sometimes I will have all 8 of my civil judges on the board. So it just depends, because a civil judge can have multiple trials. Maybe a trial starting on Monday, that's a 3-day trial, then we'll have another maybe 2-day trial starting on Thursday. So they can be on my board multiple times. And a civil judge, they have jury weeks. So they will have a trial set on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because if the trial on Monday doesn't go, they want to clear their docket, so they're going to start a trial on a Tuesday. So we hold those jurors for a week for them.
Okay. And so just because you're called to the jury pool doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be called up that day to be considered for a jury.
Right.
Okay, very interesting. And so now you've got all the questionnaires, and then randomly from those, a group is chosen to via getting the summons, show up, and we need to talk to you.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so how is it, is all of this random stuff by computers?
Everything is random by the computer.
All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. My guest, Mona Collins, the 19th JDC Jury Coordinator. We'll be right back.